All right, I'm Mike Willis with USA Wrestling. We've got another Team USA Tuesday today. I'm joined with national team member Kyven Gadson. Kyven is number 2 on the national team at 97 kilograms. Kyven, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine. So I've got a list of questions for you. Are you ready to jump into them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do it. Favorite movie?
Remember the Titans, easy, hands down. Denzel's my favorite actor. Denzel Washington gets it done. Just like I feel like he can do a lot of different things. I feel like he's versatile, and maybe that's just my Denzel bias. But that's definitely my favorite movie. I think it spoke a lot about coming together, regardless of differences, collaboration, and loving someone even though their skin is different than yours, and that's just the surface of it, is the skin thing, but it goes so much deeper than that. If you really look at the message, is that we all need each other, and together we're better. It's not like a you and I thing. If you put unity into it, like take the you and I out of it, and let's come together and make us better together. We're stronger together, and I think that's the message that I got from Remember the Titans. So.
I think that's the fastest anyone's ever answered that question. I think that's usually one that makes people pause and go, I like a lot of movies, but you hit that really quick.
No, that's like hands down, like my favorite. And then Denzel in Training Day, dude was crazy in Training Day. But Remember the Titans is definitely my favorite.
Okay, favorite musical artist?
Favorite musical artist? This is one of those. I would say it's probably Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the reason why is there's connection. Like if you're talking about like connection, it goes back to just time with my dad, and so it like hits a soft spot for me. Like we were always listening to music. He was a big Earth, Wind, and Fire Motown guy. He also liked Tupac a lot. So those were some of my favorite artists growing up. I remember when we did listen to Tupac in the car, he had some vulgarity, right? And so my dad made sure that I promised him, like, if we listened to it, I wouldn't go to school and be cussing and stuff. And so it's just like the relational ties to it that make like Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Motown, artists, some of my favorites.
Yeah. Did you hold up your end of the bargain with listening to Tupac?
In front of teachers, for sure. But that was one thing. I mean, yeah, in front of teachers, I definitely wasn't doing it. So I wasn't getting caught in, having principals and teachers report that Kyven was at school cussing because he listened to Tupac. But, maybe at recess, if I dropped a pass playing football or something, I might have, said some things. But
yeah. Okay, next question. Favorite food, and this can be you can do 2 foods if you want. Favorite food when you're maintaining your weight, and then favorite food when you can eat whenever you want.
Well, I'm really starting to understand like nutrition. I'm working with a nutritionist pretty heavily, and we're working on like my macros. So I'm understanding the carb, the fat, the protein ratio. So right now it's pretty bland. A lot of chicken. This morning I had like eggs, kale, a little bit of rice with oatmeal for breakfast. So I wouldn't say any of those are my like favorite food. Like my favorite food that my mom cooked was lasagna growing up. So I'll stick with like lasagna and maybe fried fish.
Sounds good. What is your favorite sport to watch other than wrestling?
Favorite sport to watch other than wrestling? I enjoy basketball. Yeah. I enjoy basketball. I like playing it too, though, so that like helps. But in the Olympics, when I'm watching the Olympics, I love watching swimming because it's like I'm not a great swimmer, so for me, when you see someone doing something that maybe you're not good at, it just like the amazement level is just like wow. But I also like watching uh, in the Olympics, anyways, gymnastics, the women's gymnastics. I haven't really followed the men's gymnastics very much, but so I would say in the Olympic year, I would be like swimming. It'd be swimming.
Gotcha. My high school wrestling coach always said, wrestling's the toughest sport, but swimming's right up there too, because if you stop swimming, you die. That was an interesting take.
That was like, I've never heard that before, coach. But I've experienced it. I know when I've been out to OTC, like training with Coach Jackson, he'll put us in the pool on Wednesdays, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I hate this so much. But you got to do what you got to do, you know. And so for me, it's just like it's amazing watching high level swimmers get across the water, you know, and get through that water just with which seems like effortless, you know, and then just hearing some of their stories, it's really cool.
Yeah. What other sports did you play growing up?
So for me, I did football, taekwondo, baseball, wrestling, track and field. I think that we did a little bit of gymnastics, but I think I was too rambunctious and I got kicked out when I was a kid. But my favorite sport was always football. And then I was like a late bloomer in terms of like growing. And so my favorite player growing up was Randy Moss. I loved Randy Moss. And it was like, oh, you're not going to be 6'4", 6'6", whatever. And when I got to high school, I was 125 pounds. So I was like, yeah, we can shut that dream down a little bit. And I put my like chips and my eggs or chips into my wrestling basket. And here we are.
Yeah, good call in hindsight.
Yeah, you know.
Um, who's your favorite wrestler to watch, either past or present?
Favorite wrestler to watch. I hope this doesn't sound conceited. I like watching myself because it gives me an opportunity to examine my like flaws, my strengths, my weaknesses, and then correct them. So I've really started to enjoy watching myself because it's like a constructive place for me to make positive changes and recognize those changes that need to be made so that I can perform and compete on a higher level. Growing up in Iowa, being an Iowa State fan, my favorite wrestler to watch was always Kale. Yeah, it was really simple why. You know, he was high level always. It seemed like he was attacking. Just had that mystique about him. And then just going undefeated and watching that career from, 98 to when he graduated. It was just amazing, you know, to watch it, which I probably didn't catch on to what was happening till probably his like junior year. But yeah, so I like watching myself because it gives me an opportunity to be aware of where I need to grow. But growing up, it was always Kale.
When you watch yourself wrestle, is it like a slow learning process, like gradually you kind of figure it out, or have you had like aha moments where you're just like, I need to stop doing that, or I need to adjust this?
Both. I've definitely had both. Sometimes it feels like you're working on something and it's still not quite right, and then it'll hit and you'll feel it and you'll be like, wow, that's it. I need to keep doing it just exactly like this. And then other times, yeah, it's a little bit, oh, I need to do it like this. This works, you know? And so, yeah, it's definitely interesting, but I've been enjoying it. I've started, you know, and this is something I think that comes with maturity. I've had coaches telling me, hey, film your practices, watch your practices. And now at 28 years old, I'm now taking that advice because it's like something you never did. I was like, well, I got to this level without doing it. That doesn't mean that was the most efficient way. Um, and I know Coach Jackson always said to me, hey, I used to film my practices, watch them, see what I did, and make corrections. And so now I'm starting to film those practices. And I think that just comes with maturity. It comes with maturity. It comes with maybe failure and feeling that like pain and discomfort of, not accomplishing your goals and really, I guess, biting down and figuring out, okay, well, what can I do? Maybe I felt like I did everything, but is there other stuff that I can do to put myself in the best position to be successful? And when you can look at your mirror reflection and see like, okay, I need to fix that, and really internally look inside yourself for areas of growth, I think it's important in all facets of life, not just wrestling. And that's why I think wrestling prepares you for life, because it gives you that constant reminder, whether it's through the wins or the losses.
Yeah. Speaking of the other facets of life, do you have any hobbies off the mat?
Hobbies. I honestly like, I guess you could say the arts. Like I like music, I like rapping, I like poetry. So I write poetry. Other than that, I wouldn't say I have any like I'm not like a woodsmith or anything like that. But yeah, I like writing poetry. I write a lot. Um, I don't really share much of it, but it's just one of the things that I do. I guess try to keep myself at peace.
What kind of subject matter do you discuss in your poetry?
Everything. I guess one of the recent ones, just with the times, is the you could say the Black Lives Matter movement. Just kind of what it feels like for me, sometimes feeling like or being a black man in America. Other times it's about love. It's about family. Uh, it can. It ranges. It ranges for sure. There's a lot of different things that I write. So yeah, there's a big range. I don't think anything is off topic or off limits, and that's the beauty of it. You can share if you want. If not, you can keep it with yourself. Uh, and so,
Yeah. So back to the Black Lives Matter movement. Um, I think the slaying of George Floyd has really prompted conversations about race in this country. One of the things that we saw in the wrestling community is the Black Wrestling Association being founded and starting, and you're a founding member and a pivotal member of that. Can you talk a little bit about how that started?
well, it really just started with a DM. I reached out to Nate Jackson, and I was like, man, like this is hard. Like watching that video was hard. Like I was going into my workout and I started watching it, and I didn't start my workout on time. I was just like kind of engulfed and taken aback. And in the same way, it felt like I it was like normalized to watch that. It was like normalized in a way. And so I hit up Nate Jackson, and I was like, I feel like, maybe we need a safe space to talk about these things. And we got on a Zoom, and we kind of just went from there. And what the BWA was created for was to inspire, create, and empower, and also increase representation, equality, and opportunity for our Black women and men wrestlers. And so I think it's something that's going to be important, and I hope it's something that, if time allows it to, dissolves because there's no longer a need for it, right? Like that would be the best case scenario, is that we start it and times change so that there's no longer a need for it. There's no longer a pressing or a dire situation that we feel like Black men and women wrestlers need the BWA to get opportunities or to feel like they're maybe enough. And so that would be best case scenario. But I guess time reveals all truth. And so, yeah, it just felt like there was a need for it. I know some people won't agree with it. And that I think is okay. I just hope that with them not agreeing, they allow themselves to listen and understand why maybe certain people feel like it's necessary. And then you can have discussions from there. And you can have listening and understanding from there. And with that, you can formulate, a new opinion, or you can keep your same one. But I just feel like conversation, and more importantly, I think the active listening part of the conversation allows us to have healthy conversations instead of looking maybe to respond immediately and not understand or not hear. And that's something that I try to work on, I think, every day. I mean, as a husband, as a dad, you have to look at certain cues because not everything is being said. And I mean, I think that's important. So, yeah.
Have you received blowback or negative feedback on the organization?
I think there's been some people, like you don't know who's an Instagram troll and who's a Twitter troll, or there's Abby pictures with just eggs and things like that. So it's just one of those things. And yeah, there's been some overall in general. I think there's been a lot of positivity about it. But sometimes people don't always say or show where they fully stand. But I think overall it's been pretty positive. There's always, everyone doesn't have to agree with you, and that's okay. Like, that's what makes the world is that everyone isn't going to agree on every single situation. But in my opinion, the best thing would be if we create this, it felt like there was a need to do something instead of just sit and talk on Twitter or sit and talk through messages and say, oh, this is this, and then just sit and vent. Like, it was like, what can we do that's actionable? How do we get something in motion? And so with that, it was like, this needs to happen. And it kind of just went like snowballish. And now we've kind of settled and are in the proper phases of planning, figuring out the logic plan, the structure that we want to run the organization under, and the things that are going to make this something that isn't just here for 5 years, but can be here for the next generation and the next generation if needed. If not, if we're at a point where it's no longer needed, then that's a beautiful place. That means the world has gotten, I think, better, right? Because then you no longer need an association to speak up on behalf of underserved or underrepresented, your underrepresented athletes.
So in your first couple weeks, I guess I should say, I've seen some, historical posts about prominent African American and Black wrestlers. What do you think we can expect to see from the BWA in months to come?
Well, we're going to keep releasing the founders, and then on top of that, we're looking to get our board set. Once the board is set, there can be a better understanding of the direction. And so, I mean, we have like big thoughts of what we want to happen, but again, like that strategic plan, the logic plan, that's what's important, is getting that on paper, getting that board of directors fully set, getting women's athletes involved, or women allies involved, getting Greco athletes and Greco athletes allies involved is extremely important, because we all like I said, together we're better. And so making sure everybody is collectively together and moving forward. That doesn't mean we all think the same. That doesn't mean we all view everything the same. But as an organization, we're on the same page and we're moving toward that same goal. It's super important. So we're just getting those foundational pieces set so that we are, you know, in terms of the Bible, we're not building our house up on the sand. We're building our house on, you know, a solid rock foundation. And with that solid foundation, then you can make real change and inspire, you know, you can inspire people the right way and do it with consistency and longevity.
Thanks for sharing that, Kyven. So you're in the thick of it right now in terms of wrestling, but do you have, you know, an idea of what you want to do once your competitive career is over?
Yeah. So when my competitive career is over, well, I got a few things going. I just started a nonprofit with Erica Andorf in Ames, Iowa, and it's called the Be Rare Initiative. We just started that basically during quarantine. So been quarantine busy, I guess you could say. And that nonprofit is aimed to promote healthy social and emotional learning through creative outlets, allowing each kid an opportunity to be rare. And my understanding is social and emotional intelligence isn't taught consistently at the highest level. I didn't learn about social and emotional intelligence until grad school when I was getting my master's in higher education and leadership and learning. And with that, I was 22 years old. I got to take a step back, really look at myself from like a balcony and see like where I could grow, what my areas of strength were, what my weaknesses were. It was just like watching film for me. So with that, I know that the social and emotional intelligence or social and emotional learning did so much for me as a grown man, like at 22 years old, that it was like, wow, if I would have had this younger, you know, if I would have had these skills younger, if I'd have known how to cope and deal with adversity younger, I would have been in a much better place. Maybe I would have avoided some heartaches, some pains that I dealt with. So it's just like, well, how can we help kids in our community with that social and emotional learning piece and help them find that creative outlet? Because for me, my creative outlet is wrestling. That's what I do. That's my passion. That's part of my purpose, or it mixes in with that. And so it's like if a kid loves art, if they love music, if they love theater, if they love drawing, if they love, you know, coding, is it basketball? Is it sport? You know, is it writing? Whatever that creative outlet is for them, if they find that, right, and they're able to delve into it and they have a mentor that is a writer or is a wrestler or is a artist, and they're able to hone that skill at a young age, they can put their passion into it. It'll help them with their social and emotional learning. It'll help them with their social, you know, and emotional IQ. And with that being said, they're going to be healthier. And if they're healthier, the school's going to be healthier. If the school's healthier, the community is going to be healthier, and, you know, so on and so forth. So we're really excited about that initiative, and we're getting going on that. We had a cleanup in June at Reliable Street, which is a coffee, you wouldn't know that, but it's a coffee shop. It's an old grain bin that has a bunch of opportunities for creative space there. And so we did a cleanup there, and that was really fulfilling, just the feeling of accomplishment. And so Erica and I have been working on that for the last 2 months pretty hard. We got our board set. We're working on how to go about the fundraising. So I could see myself doing that full time if that was an opportunity. I also could see myself working in college athletics, and so I'm working on some stuff, trying to figure that out and what the next step is for that. If if that's going to transpire, but everything is kind of in limbo, obviously, with college athletics because of the pandemic and COVID-19. So, I mean, in a way, it's like where the good Lord takes me, and not in a way, that is what it is, where the good Lord takes me. I know this Be Rare initiative is super important for me, as well as just, I want to impact, inspire, and influence people in a positive way. And I guess whatever my outlet is for that, I'll do it to the best of my ability. So those are that's the biggest thing is the Be Rare initiative. I'm super excited about that. And I'm really looking forward to it. I was really happy when Erica came to me about, the thought process behind it. And we really just got ripping and running on it. And I'm excited to see where we'll be a year from now and moving forward and things like that. Like I said, the foundation is the most important part of the structure so that you can have that consistency and longevity. So we created, our values, our Be Rare values, which are belonging, education, reliability, acceptance, respect, and empathy. So those are our core principal values, and they obviously spell out Be Rare, but it's just like we want kids to, find their greatness, and if we can have a small part in that by just getting them on a wrestling mat or getting them a basketball or getting them, in touch with somebody from John Deere who does coding or whatever it is that they might attach to, because it's going to be different for every kid. And that's why they're being rare, because it's different for everyone. Like my outlet isn't going to be your outlet, or this outlet isn't going to be their outlet. So I think that's super important. And so we're really excited about that and looking forward to how that turns out.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I mean, using things or activities that kids already have an affinity for, as opposed to like funneling them into something else, like kind of meeting kids where they are and allowing their own curiosity and their own interest to guide the way, seems really unique and really cool, and sounds like it would be an important aspect of getting kids to actually succeed outside of that area, or in that area, and furthering that for them later in life.
Yeah, because it's super important, like when someone finds what it is that they love and they're passionate about, they're gonna give themselves to it, and we want the kids that become part of the Be Rare initiative and the Be Rare movement to use whatever that creative outlet is as their vehicle, and I mean, again, I'm like a big thinker, so it's like you see what LeBron James is doing with his I Promise school, and all those things. It's like, well, that'd be dope to have a Be Rare, school, and it's focused on social and emotional learning and social emotional intelligence and making sure kids have the skills to deal with, some of the things maybe they've been through in life, the traumas, the adverse childhood experiences, and doing that. And so we're thinking big, right? But it's obviously going to take time to get there. But use whatever it is that you love as a vehicle. Use, for example, use wrestling as a vehicle to get you to this place so that you can change your life for the better. And so we just want kids to experience that whatever makes them rare is important, and it'll help them change the world. And knowing that, they know that they first have to look inside themselves and find out what that is.
Yeah. So speaking of kids, you've got some, and from what I've seen on Twitter, your daughter's keeping you on your toes. What's it like, balancing being a dad while also trying to be the best wrestler on the planet?
It has its challenging days. It definitely has its challenging days. But just like wrestling has its challenging days, it has its beautiful, really fulfilling days. It's interesting, because I think in 2017, after I became a dad, in 16, when I got married, I won the U.S. Open in April, and after the U.S. Open, I'm like crying because my oldest daughter is, having some struggles or whatever at school, and I'm over here in Las Vegas getting a call from school saying, blah blah blah, this is happening and whatever, and I'm like, well, am I doing the right thing by going and essentially chasing after this dream of mine in terms of wrestling? And so there was a really big like pull for me then, um, about if I should continue wrestling, or if I should, you know, basically retire and be at home more and everything, because when you're training and everything, you're gone for a week, you're gone for 2 weeks. And so I always thought if we had another kid during this Olympic cycle that I was going to retire. And then Haven was born in 2018 in December, and it was like, well, like, can't like retire now. Like, you're halfway to, what you believe to be like the culmination of your your Olympic dream, right? So it's like, can't retire now. So then you're like, you get here and you're getting ready to go for trials in March, and you get postponed, and it's like you throw another year on that when you had already started getting things into the work for what it's going to look like after wrestling or whatever. But it definitely has its challenging days. The marker misfit is now the diaper dropper, and she's taking off her diapers now because she's learning how to be potty trained. So she's going hard at us right now. She's going hard at us. And it's like, I don't know where she finds the markers. Like, and we can't, we can't throw away the markers, right? Like, we can do that. But again, it's like your creative outlet, right? But it's like, what do you do? And everything's like come out except for like on the ottoman when she did it. But like everything she's got on the wall, everything she's got on the iPad, it's all come out with the magic erase marker. But yeah, it's definitely trying. And it's funny because her older sister said, hey, when because when I came back from a tournament or a camp, there was red marker on the wall. This was before the youngest was born. And I'm like, okay, so there's 3 people that live in the house. No kids have been in the house. I know I didn't mark on the wall because I haven't been here. I doubt it was your mom. So who marked on the wall? I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, it wasn't me. You know it wasn't your mom. So like, who marked on the wall? Well, it must have been me. I'm like, well, it was you because no one else has been here. She's like, well, and this is when my wife was pregnant. She's like, are you going to blame everything on me once Haven gets here? I'm like, for probably, like 9 to 10 months. Yeah. Because she's not going to be capable of doing anything like that. But like now it's like totally like 180, and she's capable of doing a lot, like capable of doing so much. And it was like, I had even like adjusted the marker can't now, like it's like all the way up. So she like can't get to it, but I'm in a way, she's a little bit fearless, but that's kind of toned down a little bit because she's, bumped her head and done some stuff, a few times. So that like healthy fear, I think, has, got to her. But yeah, it's super trying some days. Like yesterday night, her sister left out an earring. It was like a little dangly earring, and she picked it up. She put it in her mouth. I'm changing her diaper. She starts choking on the earring, and it was like, oh my gosh. And like, so I like flipped her over really quick. She spits it out, and I'm angered, right? Because I'm like, this earring was supposed to have been put away. Why didn't you put it away? So I like threw the earring away, which she had already bit through it. And so like, it was like the earring was like falling apart because it's like a little dangly one. It had like 3 or something stars on it. But it was like a wake up moment, I think, for not just myself, but her sister. Like, oh, like I have to really be like aware of what's around. Um, and so, it comes with learning. Um, but yeah, it's definitely not without its entertainment. It's definitely not without its struggles.
What do the girls think of their dad pursuing an Olympic gold medal? Or is that something that they grasp the magnitude of? I mean, it sounds like your younger one's a little too little for that.
Yeah, she's definitely a little bit too little. Haven is. Isabella, she thinks it's really cool. I think she thinks, oh, if he wins the Olympic gold medal, we're going to be rich and all this other stuff. So she like is excited about it because she's like, oh, we're going to be rich. And yeah. Yeah, so she like understands a little bit of it. I mean, she understands like that I've, lost and come up short the last basically 3 years of making the world team, and she's been there, and that's been hard for her, as just like anybody that's like invested in stuff, like, losing sucks. It's not the fun part of it, but it's the growth part of it. And she wrestles too. And she got her first place this year, her first place. She's been wrestling 3 years. She's been to the 3 tournaments. And so she got her first place, and then she went to another tournament and she took second. It was versus all boys. I was going to put her in the all girls AAU state tournament, but she said she was burnt out. So I was like, all right, cool. But yeah, I think she wants to wrestle and only wants to wrestle because I wrestle. And so my thing is, I don't want you to wrestle because I wrestle. I want you to find your own thing, and whatever that is, we'll, invest in that for you. And so we'll see. But
Yeah. So, obviously you're behind Kyle Snyder right now, who's en route to being one of the, greats in American wrestling. Heck, based on his credentials, he already is one of them.
right.
Mentally, when you're training, is that in your head, or is that like again, the ultimate goal is the gold medal, but that's, the mountain you got to get over before you can get to that. Is that, how does that affect you?
Well, there's like 2 pretty big mountains. I mean, you're talking about him and Jaden.
Yeah, no disrespect meant.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the incumbent, but
So it's like,
Jaden just as big of a.
yeah. And like, it's crazy because we were all in the same bracket in 2015 at NCAAs. And I was able to come out of that one on top. But I'm also the only one that doesn't have a world medal. So it's like, man, like, I mean, I could have took an L there if I'd have got 5 world medals out of it. But it's been positive because there's something there that you have to press yourself, that you have to you can compare yourself to, but you just have to be aware of. It's not about Kyle. It's not about Jaden. They're part of the process that has to happen for me to make a team and realize some dreams. But then even once that happens, you still have one of the better pound for pound guys that's been on the wrestling scene in Sajalayev, right? And so there's always going to be somebody. And so my focus is really on what can I do to make myself better? What are the little details I can take care of that are going to make myself better? So that when the time comes for me to present myself as the best prepared version of myself, I can go perform like I need to. And so there's definitely an understanding in some pain that fuels me from those, losses and failures with Kyle, and understanding that you have another high level caliber guy in Jaden coming up to the weight class that's going to make it that much tougher to make the team. Then you got, a bunch of other guys as well, that are there that are growing and working on their craft too. So it's going to be exciting because you get to find out where you're at. And with that, you can grow. And so I'm just super excited for it. I know I've been working extremely hard, and I'll continue working extremely hard. And I know I've been making some decisions that I believe are going to help me prepare and put me in the best possible position to be podium prepped, is what I call it, when the time comes. And if it's going to be April of 2021 for the trials, I believe I'll be ready. I'll be there and ready. And we're willing after that. I'll be podium prepped to win an Olympic gold medal in Tokyo in 2021 now.
So obviously years of hard work and sacrifice and blood, sweat, tears, all that stuff that have gone into this, have gone into your career. But what is it going to take on that day in April to come out on top of the heat?
A whole lot of God and a little bit of Gadson. It's just it comes down to, health. There's a lot of different factors into it. Where your mind is, are you focused? Are things all aligned in your life, in terms of, emotionally, family, health, there's a lot of different factors. And so if that's my, I guess you could say, destiny, like I said, it's going to take a whole lot of God and a little bit of Gatson to I guess realize that. But all I know is the best thing I can do is prepare daily. And when that day comes, Lord willing, I'll be ready. I know that I'll have put in the time, the energy, the effort, you could say sacrifices, but just the proper decision making to be on top of my game. And with that comes a certain level of peace. That doesn't mean you like the results, right? Like if it doesn't come out in your favor, doesn't mean you like the results, but it'll give you that certain level of peace that you did what you were willing to do. And I think that's important, because everybody's like, well, are you giving everything to this? Well, I can't give everything to this. I have a family. I have, faith. I have all these things that round up Kyven Gadson as a whole. And with that, can I give everything to wrestling? No, because then I wouldn't have anything left to give to that. But am I giving everything that I'm willing to give and willing to put into it? Yes. And so with that understanding, there comes a certain level of peace. And that might be like a weird answer for some people, but I just think that's the real thing. I'm not giving everything to this thing, right? But I'm giving everything that I'm willing to give, and everything that I believe I need to put myself in the best position without sacrificing my faith and my family.
Looking back at your career and all you've accomplished, what do you think makes you most proud?
I would say the thing that makes me the most proud is the 2013 NCAA tournament. It was a really trying time. It was probably that last month of the last 2 weeks of that season is just the Big 12 tournament, the NCAA tournament, because there was so much going on, and I still was able to compete at a certain level. I'm sure how I did it, because, like I said, a lot of God, a little bit of Gadson, but it's just like it was super trying. I felt like it was a positive experience. So yeah, I would say that that was super impactful for me, and just showing like, yo, you're capable of doing these things. Because every single time, if we think about my like certain career, ever since I got on like the national level in terms of like USA Wrestling, whether it was FILA Cadets. So I won a FILA Cadet title in 2009, right? But they didn't have a Cadet Worlds. Okay, so didn't get to go to Cadet Worlds. In 2011, I won FILA Junior Nationals and would have been the favorite to make the team, but I tore my shoulder in the semis and finished the tournament, still won it, but didn't wrestle at the trials because need to get ready for college season. So I missed out on that world championship. And I might have would have had another year following that to, make the team again, but had surgery. So it's like, whoa. Then university, I made the university world team in 2016. Didn't get to compete because USA Wrestling didn't send because there was a bunch of turmoil and stuff going on in Turkey. So basically, I've been on that trajectory to make teams or been on teams and didn't get to go compete for whatever reason. And so it's like, I really need, or I really want to like have this opportunity to compete at a world championships, at Olympic Games. I mean, I got to compete at the World Cup in 2019 in Yakutsk, and that was a great experience for me. I got to compete at the Pan Am Championships in 2018 and got silver. And so I've had some good experiences. I just really want to give myself the opportunity to experience at the highest level and kind of just solidify that, like experience that type of preparation, experience all the energy getting poured into you to make sure you're at your highest level, you're at your best level going into the world championships or the Olympic Games. Because I've been that workout partner. I was Jaden's training partner in 18. I was going to be it in 19. Dealt with some injuries, so wasn't able to go. And so like I've experienced what it's like on that training partner side. And so I really want to experience what that's like when the resources, the energy, the support is getting poured into you to make sure you're at your best come the games and the world championships. And so that's the one thing that I would like to do before I leave this sport. And I know I at least have a year left to do that, and I'll just revisit it, after that, if there's another 4 or more. So,
Yeah. Is there any added pressure knowing that potentially this could be the last go around?
It hasn't felt that way. Going into what was going to be the trials coming these past ones that got canceled, it did feel that way a little bit. I was dealing with some injuries and things like that, and I felt like it was hampering my training and wasn't going to allow me to really show like my full self. And it's like you always want to show your full self in the Olympic year, even though at the Olympic year or at the World Championships year, you're still showing you're the best in the world. But just with the Olympic year, there's more put on it in terms of finances, just the mystique of being an Olympic champ. Like, oh, you're just a world champ? Oh, you're an Olympic champ? Like there's just, and like it might not be different, but it is different, and just recognizing that it's okay that they're different. It's still the same thing essentially. But it hasn't felt like that since the postponement. I feel like I've been able to get healthy and again make some decisions that'll allow me to move forward with that, and so I'm excited.
What do you think the best advice you've received in your career has been?
Best advice. There was a conversation I had with Coach Jackson after I tore my shoulder in my first dual meet in the Iowa State singlet. And he said, you're going to have to decide what you want. and you're gonna have to live with it, you know. Um, and it was like a wrestling advice, but it like maybe it wasn't wrestling advice. I never asked him, but it was just like you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna, come back from this, or if you're gonna allow this to essentially maybe be the end of you. And at that point, with my maturity level, with the pain I was feeling, I was in a very, I think I was in a not I think I was in a very depressed place. Like I was like, well, my wrestling career is over, And it wasn't until my dad got sick that it kind of like pulled me out of it, out of that place temporarily, where I was able to, get some energies and get myself back to wrestling at a decent level. And so it was just like, you're going to have to figure out what it is that you want. And then you're going to have to, attack it accordingly. And with that being said, is like, that's what you have to do in life every day. You have to figure out what it is you want, and then you have to attack it accordingly. And so for those moments where it's like you feel like the whole world's on top of you and you can't breathe, it was like super important for me to have someone like KJ, who I like admired. My brother had a poster up of him on his wall. Growing up. So I always saw KJ, right? And never knew like our relationship would be what it is. But like he was always on our wall, growing up. And for someone that to say that, that you respect, that you care for, whose family is your family, it was super important to hear. And I don't think I could hear it right then, or digest it maybe. And it took some time. But he was so right. And so for that, like, I'm appreciative. And I know my dad and my mom and a lot of other influential people have shared with me a lot of different things, but that's one of the things that really sticks out to me.
I think if you talk to most athletes that have been coached by KJ, they'll tell you that he's a really special coach and a really special person. What do you think sets him apart?
What sets him apart? His heart. His heart. He has a ton of love in his heart, and he cares about the person, not just the wrestler. Because I feel like it would have been easy after me dealing with as many injuries and things that I dealt with to be like, the kid just doesn't have it, and for him to like kind of like walk away from my situation. But I think his heart, he has a strong heart, and he cares about the person. And when you have someone in your corner that cares about you, and who you are as a person, who will call you out on your BS, who will, tell you if you're doing something and he doesn't believe it's right. Now, that doesn't mean, again, that you'll always agree, but that you guys will be able to come back to a collective place where you guys have an understanding. Because, like, it's crazy because my senior year, I didn't talk to KJ for 2 weeks. Like, I didn't talk to the whole coaching staff for 2 weeks. Because I lost at the Southern Scuffle, and we got in like an argument after I lost at the Southern Scuffle, and it was just like a big old blow up. And I went into a place where I'm like, well, I don't need you, and I don't need to talk to you. Like, I'm gonna come into practice, I'm gonna do like what I need to do, and that might have been like an immaturity, but it was just like that's where I was at the time, and. I didn't talk to the coaches like Angel, Travis, Trent, KJ. I didn't talk to any of them for like 2 weeks. Like, I came into practice that next week. I got in a fight with Duran Wynn. We got in a fight. And so like it would be easy, right? Like I'm the captain of the team, right? And I'm having this you can say like outburst or whatever that's not right? It's not like anyone's gonna talk about this or like, you know, be like, oh, like Kyven's gone off his rock or whatever. But like, I was just like, I don't need you. I wasn't talking to the coaches. I was like, look, y'all don't even have to sit in my corner. I'm still winning nationals. That's where my mind went. But it's like, it wasn't without, you know, like reflection, like that honest, like deep, like me looking at myself and looking at the situation, and me putting aside my ego and humbling myself. And like, I was listening to Angel's wife. We were in grad school together. And she was like, hey, have you talked to the coaches yet? And I was like, nope, and I'm not going to. Like, I was just like in that place. And she like kept, you know, like saying, you know, talking to me and like, and she's like, well, I think you should, da, da, da. And it just like, it wasn't going to happen without, you know, like that support. And like that support comes from so many places. You know, Robin Jackson was a big part of me, you know, growing into the young man I was and am, you know. And so it's just like there's so much that goes into someone becoming who they are. And I know that kind of gets away from like the initial question you asked, but the thing that separates KJ is his love for people, and the person outside of the sport. That's my opinion.
What advice would you give to a wrestler that's maybe just starting out in their career?
The cliche answer of have fun, but know who you are outside of it. Don't allow yourself to become just a wrestler. Know who you are outside of the sport. Build relationships, and have fun. Mm-hmm.
So during, you know, really tough training sessions or maybe a day when you're having like a little bit of an off day, what do you use to allow yourself to dig deeper and to get a little bit more out of yourself?
There's a statement that I read, or maybe it's a quote that said, you know, commitment is staying true to something you said long after the feeling you have left when you said that. And that's true commitment. So, and I think I have a better understanding of what commitment is. And so like, I'm committed to being the best version of myself possible. And I believe when I get to that place that I will become an Olympic and world champ. And so that's what I'm committed to doing. And if it doesn't happen, I know I'll be able to use my experiences in the other avenues and places in my life to help pour into other people. And that's my passion, is people. And so this is just the vehicle that I've been using to kind of impact, influence, and inspire others.
All right, this is my last question for you, Kyven, and then I'll let you go. But what is your best wrestling memory to date?
Best wrestling memory to date. I really like watching my childhood video of my first practice in my living room with my dad. And he's like, he keeps telling me that I don't listen or I'm not listening well. Because he went from coaching, being the head coach at Eastern Michigan University, the Division I, and he's coming back, and now he's dealing with his 6-year-old son who's spacey and all over the place. And so he went from coaching, you know, high-level guys to this little kid that is like, yo, bro, you can miss me with all this stuff. Like, I'm just trying to wrestle. Like, I'm not trying to do no stand-ups, whatever else you're talking about. When do we get to shoot? I literally said that in the video. But he's like, we got a long ways to go, but we'll get there, buddy. And that's what he says, like, at the end of the video. So that is like my favorite memory, and I wouldn't remember it unless we had the video of it. And so as like a dad, that translates for me. Like, I'm always like taking pictures and trying to get video and stuff like that, so that when the girls grow up, they'll have video and things of those times because it's important. Because you don't remember everything, but to be able to rehash and relive some of those moments and appreciate them at a different stage in your life is important.
Think your daughters are going to be mad that you put them on blast on Twitter?
I don't know. The one kind of wants to be famous. I don't know if the little one wants to be famous, but the older one wants to be famous in a way. So I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today and let me pick your brain a little bit, Kyven. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I had a good time. I'm super appreciative of everybody in my corner. Cyclone Regional Training Center, Sunkiss, the Sunkiss Kids family, CP, Common Pressure Gear. I'm super appreciative of all the people that have been in my corner, and I'm excited to continue moving forward on this journey.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we see you back on the mat soon.
Yep.
Thanks.